card.
Fire Fist Striker is very interesting. If you are not familiar with it, you were just talking about this just a moment ago. This is, I believe, the only battalion card in Max Mcvety's deck. I wouldn't be surprised to see him sideboard this out in Game 2 against a deck like Boros, or against a deck like Esper. It just seems very unlikely that he's going to have a battalion being assembled.
Yeah, and in this case, the battalion trigger prevents one creature from blocking, which also isn't going to be too relevant in this matchup with Esper control not having many creatures, and they're off. Esper starting with a Watery Grave, Max starting with an untapped Sacred Foundry, and that Stromkirk Noble we were talking about, hoping to get it off to a quick start.
And we see a turn 2 comes into play tapped land for Raymond. Now Raymond, as the number 2 seed, was able to get the play. He had the choice, and he gets the play. 0 damage from the Noble.
And the Ash Zealot gets in there for 2. The Noble taken down by a Tragic Slip. Or takes a Tragic Slip, I should say. Raymond adds a Drown Yard here. Looks like he may have a Detention Sphere in hand, as well as quite a few other spells. You see him shuffle a Sphinx's Revelation to the front. And just thinking about what his options are. Probably wants to get rid of that Ash Zealot, though.
And he does decide to go with it. Oh. Lingering Souls. That's creates some chump blockers at the very least.
Yeah, blockers. He may also be thinking about possibly trying to go on the offensive a bit. We'll see how this plays out. Meanwhile, Max has looks like a few creatures. I think he shuffled a Rakdos Cackler to the front, and he attacks. There is a chump block, and then that Cackler comes out and is unleashed, passes the turn. So no third land drop, but quite a lot of gas in Max's hand. I see a Searing Spear. I think I see a Boros Charm. So representing a lot of damage.
You can see with Detention Sphere, Alchemy, Sphinx's Revelation. One other card was... He has got a lot of powerful cards, but not much mana.
Looks like he's thinking about what play to make. Looking at that Detention Sphere in his hand, and just passes the turn.
I think we're going to see him Forbidden Alchemying at the end of this turn, looking for even more useful cards.
Yeah, or even building up more lands to make that Sphinx's Revelation big enough to start chaining off of itself, essentially drawing more spells and enough lands to cast them.
Another chump block from Lingering Souls, and the Rakdos Cackler hits for 2, knocks Raymond Perez Jr. down to 16.
So being at 16 on this turn is not too bad. Max has got a couple of 2/2s, but I wouldn't say Raymond's in too bad a position right now.
We see land Dissipate, and I believe a Lingering Souls.
Yep.
That far card to the back, I think, is... And he takes a land? Okay, there it is. Lingering Souls it is. And he draws another land. Now he has 2 lands, Sphinx's Revelation, and a Detention Sphere in hand.
So I think, yeah, we're gonna, I think, see Sphere take out that Zealot, which is gonna allow him to flash back one of those Lingering Souls without taking the damage from the Zealot's ability. So pretty good turn for Raymond, and he does have that Sphinx's Revelation and another land, so he's getting to the point where it's gonna gain a substantial amount of life and draw enough cards so that Raymond will probably have more things to do on the next turn.
For those of you who are just joining us, I'm Adrian Sullivan here with Ben Hayes. This is the Star City Games Open Series here live in Cincinnati, Ohio. On the left, Max Mcvety, the barely Boros player, and on the right, Raymond Perez Jr. with Esper Control, one of 2 Esper Control players in this top 8. Incidentally, both of those Esper players are the 1 and 2 seeds for this event.
Yeah, so that deck performing very well today. And, you know, it's well positioned against these Boros Reckoner decks. It has a lot of ways to deal with that card without triggering its ability.
Raymond Perez Jr. double blocks the Cackler, killing it. An Ash Zealot hits him for 2, and then untaps, hits him for 2 again. And Raymond, completely untapped here, has Sphinx's Revelation mana available, and they both have had the opportunity to look at each other's deck lists. In the top 8, all of the players get to see exactly what they have. So if Raymond Perez Jr. has a good memory, he will know that there are no skull cracks in Max Mcvety's main deck, so he is safe to cast a Sphinx's Revelation in Game 1 at any time. And he does for 3.
Yeah, and I think I saw what might be another Sphinx's Revelation in his hand. He definitely has a couple cards there, and adding 3 more to that hand, getting a nice 3 life as a cushion. Looks like he drew a couple lands, and possibly another spell also. So Raymond up to 6 cards.
Sitting totally pretty here right now.
Yeah, not bad to be at 12 with a whole pile of land in play against a red deck. Looks like he has a Drown Yard, chooses to play a Glacial Fortress, has an island.
Passes the turn. Max Mcvety here, a ton of cards in hand, but that's because he's been choked out with only 2 mana, only 21 lands in this deck, so that's not too unusual, but he can only cast, generally speaking, 1 spell a turn. Raymond Perez, are we going to see it? Yep, 4 more life, 4 more cards.
Yeah, and this starts the chain of Sphinx's Revelation. In this case...
It ends the chain. He only has those 2, and no Snapcasters, so that's it for him.
So we see Max with a Stonewright, what looks like possibly 1 or 2 Boros Charms in hand. Stonewright really hindered by Max not having many lands, but not having lands does mean Max has a lot of spells to work with. Looks like he's going to use that Boros Charm to give his creatures, to make his creatures indestructible and counter that uncounterable Supreme Verdict.
Liliana comes down and then edicts Max Mcvety. Indestructible though they are, you still must sacrifice 1 of them.
Yep, and I wouldn't be surprised if we saw that Ash Zealot. Well, he could finish off the Liliana, or he could deal 2 to Raymond. It's not threatening his creatures right away, and Max does have a lot of cards, so he can afford to discard 1. We'll see which path he chooses to take with that. Never bad to get Planeswalkers off the board, but in some cases it is better just to attack the player and try to finish them off.
This is a really critical juncture for Max, figuring out which direction to go. As you were saying, getting the Planeswalkers off the table is often a good idea, but Raymond is at low enough life that if Max Mcvety remembers that Raymond only has 2 Sphinx's Revelations and 0, count them, 0 Snapcasters, he might remember, which way is he going to go? To the Dome. He might remember then that essentially this life total change can be really, really good.
Yeah, the damage he's dealing now is probably going to stick. I mean, there's a couple of Sorens that can produce life-linking tokens, and there's 1 Obsidat that can drain some life. But besides that, we're not going to see Raymond gaining too much life in this game.
Now Raymond activates the +1 ability. Both players discard. Raymond discards a land, and Max Mcvety discards a Reckoner. And then we see Raymond drop a Augur, which gets him a Forbidden Alchemy.
So Raymond with tons of mana, really firing on all cylinders here, but he is hampered by the fact that he doesn't have really any ways to gain life left in his deck besides a couple of interactions.
Tamiyo holds down Ash Zealot.
And Max draws what looks like a Pillar of Flame.
I think a Searing Spear, Pillar,
Stonewright.
I think I see a Reckoner in there as well.
Yeah, I believe he did have a second Reckoner, and then 1 card in the back. Looks like it might be a Hellrider. So Max with a lot of cards in hand chooses to take out that Augur,
and Lily comes after, is killed.
Takes out that Liliana. In this case, I would say Max made a pretty good choice going for Raymond the first turn and Liliana the second turn, because he has extra cards to discard. So knocking Raymond down a card, even though Raymond also has cards, is valuable.
Absolutely. Tamiyo holds down Ash Zealot once again.
And Raymond just passes the turn with... I know he had a Drown Yard in hand. I believe he's played 1 of them. And so that may be a path that he starts to take soon. Although he is only at 10, and we see a Lightning Mauler come down. Raymond casts Forbidden Alchemy, looking for a possible answer to that. And did not see what he took, but he gave up a Jace and an Azurius Charm. Looks like his hand is Supreme Verdict, Azurius Charm, and I think another Alchemy, as well as an island.
In come the creatures. Attack, attack.
So Raymond has a choice here between putting one of them on the top of Max's deck, or waiting and Supreme Verdicting them both away. Looks like he's going to use Forbidden Alchemy first to see what he's working with before making that decision. He's going to put away a couple lands and a Dissipate, and pick up an Augur of Bolas. And yeah, he just takes those 4, goes to 6. I think we're about to see a Supreme Verdict, and then that Tamiyo, I would imagine, will lock down one of these lands.
Boom. And now Raymond Perez, nearing death, but also locking Max Mcvety out.
And we do see Tamiyo lock down Sacred Foundry, leaving Max with just 1 mana source.
Oh, and an Augur too. That's a really good draw for him right now. Augur for Lingering Souls, I believe.
And yeah,
land,
I think we're
linger. All in. He knows that the most damage he can possibly take on this next turn is 4.
So,
and remember, the land is tapped down. He did indicate, there we go. The land is now regularly tapped.
Well, one of the lands. They do the same thing. And yeah, right out of nowhere, Raymond puts 5 power worth of creatures on the board and, you know, threatens to end this game pretty quickly while locking down Max's resources. And we see that actually one way Raymond could gain life is by using the lifelink mode of Azurius Charm. So we may see that come up now that Raymond has a little army of his own.
And Raymond just laying land after land after land.
Yeah, getting up to that 5 million land mark.
Holds down a land again. I think that's very wise. Comes in with most of his creatures.
Yeah,
leaves back an Augur.
Leaving that Augur back to protect Tamiyo. Tamiyo's actually at the point where he could ultimate it, although I'm not sure we'll see that. And another flashback Lingering Souls increases that clock even more. And yeah, just holding on to an island and Azurius Charm, but very in command here with a ton of tokens, that Tamiyo locking things down, and plenty of land to... Yep.
Max sees the writing on the wall, scoops it up onto the sideboard. Now remember, both of these players have the ability to consult their sideboards, but there's also one other thing you should be remembering this entire time. We do trivia every top 8 during every single round of the top 8, and it works in a pretty simple way. What we do is we ask a trivia question, and you at home can play along, and if you succeed in answering the trivia question correctly, one lucky person who answers correctly will be chosen at random to receive a prize. And the prize during the quarterfinals is 3 free months of Star City Games Premium. During the semifinals, it goes up to 6 free months of Star City Games Premium. And finally, in the finals, a full year of Star City Games Premium. And what you need to do in order to make yourself be one of these possible winners, that hashtag, you can see it right there, hashtag SCG Premium. It won't count unless we can see that hashtag SCG Premium. So, at home, what have we been talking about this entire weekend is the, quote, best card in Standard right now. Now, you might have different opinions, but we have been talking about this card again and again and again and again as the best card in Standard. Now, I'm going to give you a hint. For the first 5 rounds of the tournament, whichever a player playing 4 copies of this card lost that round.
Yeah, we did see that. So
yeah, for the first 5 rounds, if you were playing this, the best card in Standard, that was the losing deck with 4 copies right there.
And we have talked about it a lot.
So,
and called it the best card in Standard.
Best card in Standard. Hashtag SCG Premium. You might disagree. You might think something else is the best card. But what have we been calling the best card in Standard? Put your hashtag SCG Premium. Win 3 free months of Star City Games. And let's see what Max Mcvety and Raymond Perez are going to be doing here. Max lost this first game. His sideboard has Skullcrack, which I think is definitely useful. Boros Charm has mixed utility. And then, actually, it's pretty solid. You can use it to stop the Supreme Verdict.
Yeah, I think we'll see him bring that Boros Charm in. It deals a lot of damage, and it also gets around Supreme Verdict.
Do you see anything else coming in?
Not really. He's got a Pyroheart Wolf that's not going to be too effective because Raymond's not going to be blocking much. He's got some Mizium Mortars, Volcanic Strength. I don't really see any of these other cards coming in.
My prediction, he's going to take out those 3 Pillar of Flames and 1 Searing Spear and turn them into 1 Boros Charm and 3 Skullcracks.
Yeah, I think that's probably pretty accurate.
Raymond Perez, on the other hand, we saw him make great use of his 2 Sphinx's Revelations. I think he might be bringing in Blind Obedience for the extra life gain, and also for the ability to stop some of that haste action, but also 2 Trading Post.
Yeah, we saw that card doing some work earlier today in a red, white, black control deck, and it really just can gain a ton of life and put the game out of reach.
Finally, I really like an extra Supreme Verdict and an Ultimate Price just to up the removal count, and I think that's probably going to be what we'll see for the sideboarding. Do you think anything else is going to be likely?
Not that I can see. He may board that Dispel in, kind of for the same reason that we saw in round 10, using it as a life gain spell, trying to counter one of those instants. But he has seen Max's deck, and he knows he's not running that many spells. He's running many more creatures, so I don't think we'll see the Dispel come in. I think we'll just see those Trading Posts and Blind Obedience and the extra removal.
One of my favorite parts about Raymond's deck list, both players can see each other's deck list. They have a physical photocopy of it. I love Raymond Perez has listed as the archetype Shaheen Control. And he is referring here to Shaheen Surani, the Star City Games writer, occasional U.S. Nationals team member, and also just all-around awesome guy.
Yeah, Shaheen is known for, well, lately has been known for playing Planeswalker-y control, blue, white, black, Lingering Souls kind of stuff. And this deck, yeah, has 4 Lingering Souls, 8 Planeswalkers, at least I'm seeing here. 2 Liliana, 2 Sorin, 2 Tameo, and 2 of the 4-cost Jace. So definitely seems like something very Shaheen-like. Now,
if Raymond is able to get out each of his Planeswalkers, it's going to be clobbering time, I'll tell you. So if you're just joining us, I'm Adrian Sullivan, here with Ben Hayes. We are here at the Star City Games Open Series in Cincinnati, Ohio. It's SCG Live. Max Mcvety down the first game. Raymond Perez Jr. up the first game here. Looks pretty happy about his position. Look at that big smile. He's bantering with the judges, and they're ready to go to our game 2 here. Now, obviously you don't want to be down a game, but how do you feel about Max Mcvety's chances after the sideboard?
I think Skullcrack is going to help a lot. As we noted in game 1, Raymond doesn't have that many ways to gain life, doesn't have as many ways to gain life as some Esper control decks. And so in this case, Skullcrack might really allow him to negate most of the life gain that we're going to see from Raymond, which could swing things. Max also just has a ton of fast creatures, so I think he's going to be helped out a lot by being on the play this game. So we'll see how that goes, but I like Max's chances in this game, beyond the play being very important, and those Skullcracks I think could make a big difference. Although, you know, Raymond definitely has the tools to be competitive in this matchup on the play. He's got some Devour Flesh, as we mentioned, those Lingering Souls that can just produce a ton of blockers, and cheap removal like Tragic Slip, a couple of Detention Sphere, and those sweepers in Supreme Verdict. So both players are picking up their opening hands now. Raymond looks to have a Liliana, Tragic Slip, a few lands. Max, I see a bunch of mountains, and Rakdos Cackler on turn 1 coming out unleashed. I also think I see a Hellrider in Max's hand. From Raymond, just a Godless Shrine tapped and a pass. And Max gets in for 2. I believe Raymond has an Augur of Bolas. And
there it is. It's a stopper.
And he sees Blind Obedience, land, and ultimate price, which he does pick up. Can't target the Rakdos Cackler, but I imagine we'll see it cast at some point this game.
Max Mcvety here.
Oh. Flashes a Sorin by accident, and then flashes an ultimate price.
In for 2 block. Yeah, you got me.
And Max adds a Fireheart Wolf. So that'll let him get around that Augur. Not a card that I would have expected him to have after maybe a card he might have shaved in boarding, but he does have 2 in his main deck, and it looks like he's chosen to leave at least 1 in.
Yeah, I don't mind it at all. I think that the pillars are the cards that really bother me for this matchup, because you almost never are going to pillar anything unless you already had the draw you needed to have.
Right. It can finish off an Augur, but that's really not what you want to be doing with it. We see a few more mountains in Max's hand, and before combat, that Pyreheart Wolf is going to get killed and come back with Undying.
It pays the ultimate price. Land, go. And then a tragic slip to finish it off. Raymond not afraid to use 2 powerful removal spells to get that Pyreheart Wolf off the table. And then Liliana comes down to take off the last creature there. Boom. Take that.
And there goes the Cackler.
Max is in a world of hurt right now. Hellrider attacks in at Raymond. The 1 trigger damage kills the Lily, I believe.
This is interesting. I think Max actually had Hellrider last turn and chose to hold it back to try to draw those removal spells out on his Pyreheart Wolf. Pretty nice play there, although Raymond does have a second Liliana and is going to go right for that Hellrider and take it out. So we'll see what Max can come up with to handle that Liliana. Looks like he has a Boros Reckoner and a couple of lands. Possibly a spell in the back there. Looks like a Skullcrack.
Yeah, it looks to me like Max is flooding something fierce. This is the opposite draw from what he had last game.
Although Raymond on the other side does not have a lot of lands, so if Max just chooses to lay that Reckoner down, he passes. So similar situation to game 1. He has a card he's willing to throw away in that land. He's going to let Raymond up Liliana, knowing that he can kill it later with that Skullcrack. Doesn't need to act right away. We do see Liliana go up. I think we're going to see Max discard that extra land that he really has no need for. And Raymond does find a 4th land.
It's a big deal for Raymond.
Yeah, it turns on Sorin, gives him access to both Zuria's Charm and Lingering Souls in the same turn. And Sorin gets down and looks like it's going to go up. And there comes the Vampire.
1/1 lifelink.
So we'll see how well this Boros Reckoner is able to take down these Planeswalkers. Max is just going to untap, pick up a Boros Charm, which is a very nice draw. He actually has the ability to take out both Planeswalkers right now, although I think we'll see an attack first, because even with blocks, he can redirect some of the damage to Raymond and then have the Planeswalkers take that damage. So he may be able to take one of these Planeswalkers out without having to spend a full card. And Max thinking about his options. You know, on board, looking pretty far behind, but in hand having answers to both those Planeswalkers. So just how he decides to play this.
Max Mcvety, barely Boros. This red deck is only barely have any white spells in it. A total of 3 Boros Charms after sideboard. 2 Bonds of Faith also in the sideboard for the grand total of 5 white spells total.
Yeah, I think we're going to see him attack Liliana here.
Blocks with the lifelinker.
And
Skullcrack. No life gain for you.
So that's going to prevent that 1 life gained. And he is going to take out Liliana. And I imagine the 1 damage from... Yeah, it looks like the 1 damage from Reckoner is going to straight to Raymond, and that Boros Charm will clean up the Sorin.
Now we see 3 cards in hand versus 0 cards in hand, and that is a really, really good set. We have our first other match done. Eric Rill defeats Ambrosia Morales, 2-0. Naya midrange advances.
Yeah, taking down Jund aggro. So Raymond goes for a Lingering Souls. And Max...
He's got that Azorius Charm.
Swings in.
Boom.
Azorius Charm puts that on the top.
And Max says go. Ouch. Raymond firmly in control here. Mills takes that Reckoner out of there. I actually might thank Raymond for doing that.
Yeah, Reckoner not the best draw here, as Raymond does have a ton of creatures down there. We're gonna see an Ash Zealot come down. Can't get through the 1/3 without help though.
And Max Mcvety's hand is a land.
Yep. And Raymond.
Oh, it's a trading post in Raymond's hand.
Wow.
Look at Raymond's face. He's like, yeah, I got this. I got this card. That's what I got.
Well, I think that trading post is gonna probably put this match away pretty quickly.
It spells doom. Doom.
4 life a turn is about as much as the best card in Max's deck does. So Raymond can turn any card into that, and chooses to discard a Lingering Souls to go up to 18. Max does get a Reckoner down, and Raymond draws a Sphinx's Revelation, but only has 5 lands. So
Insult to injury.
we'll see if he chooses to cast that at some point, or just continues to activate the trading post, which I think is pretty likely. We see another Ash Zealot drawn by Max, so he can really make Raymond pay for flashing back those Lingering Souls, but I don't think Raymond is too concerned with that. And it does come down.
In comes the team. Rawr, here we are.
We did see a situation earlier today where Trading Post was not able to outrace some red creatures, but I think Raymond already being at such a high life total is going to probably make this situation a bit different.
Devour Flesh comes down. Another thing, Raymond is at 18 currently, as opposed to 3, and the fear of a Searing Spear. So this is a very different situation. I think Raymond is likely... Oh, look at that. There's just so many good cards there. He does the block, takes 3, goes to 15. Max Mcvety, 1 card in hand. And Forbidden Alchemy at the end of the turn. Azorius Charm, and 3 other cards I can't tell.
2 Azorius Charms, what looks like a Watery Grave, and another blue spell down there.
Okay. Land, just continuing to add mana to the board.
So Raymond does have that Sphinx's Revelation. Every land, essentially, another card that he's going to have access to when he does choose to fire that off. And Max draws a Boros Charm. Decent amount of damage, but it's really just trading for 1 activation of Trading Post in this case.
Trading Post is definitely one of my favorite cards Wizards of the Coast has put out in a very long time. It's incredibly flavorful, really interesting, powerful, but not so powerful that you just jam it into your decks. It's just a really nice little design.
Yeah, it's an interesting kind of card where you can build around it, but you don't have to. You know, here we see Raymond just using it to gain 4 life every turn, and you know, you can also do much more complicated things with the other abilities.
And Azorius Charm is used to get the Reckoner off the table. The Augur of Bolas blocks the Ash Zealot.
And I think we're going to see...
End of turn, I think he's going to make a 0/1 goat.
Huh.
That's my guess. I wonder if they're waiting for a goat token.
Does seem to be waiting for something. And
there it is.
There's that goat.
It's a goat. Yes.
So one of the abilities on Trading Post is sacrifice a
creature and get an artifact back from your graveyard.
Get an artifact back. Okay.
You know what that goat represents is basically just a force field effect, paying 1 life to prevent future damage.
Yep. Yeah, exactly.
In come the spirits. And Boros Charm face down against Boros Charm and Ash Salt facing down against Spirit, Goat, Augur of Bolas, and Trading Post.
Trading Post and those crazy goats.
Max Mcvety here, a 21 land deck, and Raymond turns a land into 4 life.
Going up to, I think, 19.
And another land, it looks like to me, Hallowed Fountain, I believe.
Attack for 2 in from Raymond, and might be thinking about firing off the Sphinx's Revelation soon. Anything that gets him up on cards is just going to allow him to keep doing things while he discards cards to Trading Post. So I imagine we will see that fairly soon. Max has quite a few cards now, but probably not too many that are effective at racing Trading Post in this situation.
Hellrider, that's some repeatable damage.
Yeah, that's exactly the kind of effect he's looking for.
And Raymond's like, come on, bring it.
So 2 direct damage from Hellrider's ability, a couple of blocks.
You see that Goat trading away against the Hellrider, preventing effectively 2 damage. Paid 1 life to make it, gained 3 life by blocking the Hellrider, and then end of the turn, Sphinx's Revelation.
Yep, we do see that fired off, gaining 3 life, drawing 3 cards, just producing a lot more fuel for that Trading Post. Looks like Raymond's drawn a second
Trading Post. Ouch.
And he is going to just be able to gain a ton of life off of these. Thinking about coming in for some damage, but ultimately looks like he's just going to be passing the turn. Now, as good as these 2 Trading Posts are, Max has set up, as you mentioned, a repeatable source of damage. So if he can keep those on the table, at a certain point, Raymond is not going to be able to discard 2 cards a turn. So we'll see if he can outlast those Trading Posts, if Max can outlast the Trading Posts. And Max just thinking about his options. Attacking here obviously puts the Hellrider in danger of being triple blocked, but he does have that Boros Charm that would allow him to turn that situation around.
This is a really interesting position that Raymond has put Max into. Particularly because Raymond has 2 or 3 cards in hand. Max has to wonder, are any of them actually relevant instants? Because that could change the math in some pretty ridiculous and terrible ways.
Yeah, each card is worth at least 3 life just by being discarded to the Trading Post, but if any of them are instants and have abilities of their own, then it could really change things. So we're going to see a Trading Post activation. Looks like for a Goat. So choosing to hold on to those cards, paying a life to make a Goat, and we do see the triple block there. And making the Goat before blockers, but doesn't look like he's used the Goat to block anything.
Boros Charm.
I would guess that's giving the Hellrider double strike. And both players reading Trading Post.
I'm not sure about that Goat that he made there. And it looks like he made Indestructible, not Double Strike. Double Strike would have been pretty awesome. Okay, Trading Post sacrifices itself to draw a card. Wow, Double Strike would have been really good there.
Yeah, it would have taken out all 3 creatures and left his Hellrider alive.
And now the second of the Sphinx's Revelations has appeared.
And we see, looks like an isolated trap will come down. Raymond gets in for 2 more points with those spirits. And the Goat is sacrificed to return a Trading Post. I'm not a huge fan of this looping trading posts line of play. I think if I was Raymond, I'd rather just be gaining 4 life off every activation, but you know, this is one path to take.
Ash Zealot in for 2. And Max Mcvety still languishing with land in hand. And here comes Stromkirk Noble. Wow, that could have been a fireball.
Yeah. So Raymond comes across with a couple of spirits, dropping Max to 8. And looking pretty grim for Max. Raymond also has a Sphinx's Revelation ready to fire off and can gain 8 life at will with those 2 trading posts if he needs to.
In for 3.
And Raymond is I believe he's indicating that he's making a goat and blocking with it. He didn't discard a card.
He prevents one loss of 1 life by doing so.
Yeah, not sure which creature he blocked. He may have wanted to keep the counter off Noble, or he may have wanted to take 1 less damage, but in any case, he blocked one of those creatures with a goat.
Boros Reckoner.
And this trading post is going to gain him 4 life, putting him up to 13.
And Max says that's okay. Untap. Okay, with the Noble no counter on it, that would lead me to believe that the Noble is what was blocked.
Yeah, it does look that way. And surprisingly, Max has actually managed to build up another army after losing his masses of creatures a couple times. But Raymond just holding on to that Sphinx's Revelation. We'll see how big that one is going to end up being, but it seems like it'll probably put this game pretty far out of reach, providing him a ton of life and a bunch more cards to discard to trading post, each of which is worth 4 life. So we're going to see that Revelation here for 5 with 2 up. So he's gaining 5 with the potential to gain 8 more for as many as 13. Full new hand of cards for Raymond. And Max draws another Ash Zealot, which I imagine we'll see come down, and it's a reasonable amount of damage on Max's side. He's going to need to hope that Raymond really didn't draw much of use.
And he says, I'm going to gain 4. Does that work? And Max apparently says yes. And he says, I'm going to gain 4. Does that work? Okay. And that negates the 8 damage that he had hit him.
So he, just goes up 8, takes 8, same deal, untaps those spirits, and 3 more swings from those 2 spirits.
Soren.
Even less. Soren's going to come down, make an emblem, and we're going to see Max fall to 2. And then
Obzedat
drains for 2 and finishes that game off.
The beatdown. Esper Control.